A rebellion breaks out. A few areas perceive themselves as different, so they launch a rebellion. It's this area up here, this area, and that area, claiming they are different. With them starting 3 points of rebellion, one in each of the areas. And the rebellions quickly occupying territory, eventually managing to advance faster. Within the south, a failure to make a counteroffensive happens. These two counteroffensives are a success. But this offensive here is going really well. As throughout their territory, another rebellion breaks out. As they move up, but eventually this front gets stopped from advancing north. But with all of this, the rebellion goes strong, with the yellow country and red country putting support behind them, which led to them starting another rebellion up in this area. With them managing to encircle a big chunk of the army, and this army fails to get out of the encirclement. And with it eventually being forced to surrender. So this area expanding its control. But eventually it's seen as, this nation is seen as a problem. With a rebellion starting again up here, and this time it actually succeeds. Eventually, the full parts of these areas rebel. This might be a bit more. As well, that empire decides to meet with them for a peace treaty. Not doing so well. With it becoming a crisis. With, well, a bunch of nations over here decide to start declaring independence, and over here. But the economy quickly, but these nations decide to stay together. With the collapse taking place. And as the collapse took place, this is what it ended up over there. Over here collapsed into two nations, with a third over here, and a fourth and a fifth. Now to just fix those colors. Deciding it's a good time to strike. And this is not brown, it's kind of goldish. Seeing how this empire isn't doing the best. Well, they start their advance. The Orange Nation decides, not Orange Nation, yes, the Orange Nation, doesn't really help them this time. As this front moves out, that really stalls out as the capital is about there. Now these two fronts meeting together. Quickly, a lot of fights break out. Them landing over here. With strong resistance being held. With this nation in a lot of trouble. As it's pushed back really far. It's also pushed back over here. In some areas, almost to the border here a tiny bit. With these two fronts during that time starting to collapse. With them then fully collapsing. With them managing to capture this. With them capturing the capital and agreeing to make a less harsh treaty, but under one condition. Where a bunch of the independent areas become, well, yeah, independent. a bunch of independences are created. So let's see the peace treaty. Higher than the peace treaty. But this nation, seeing how there is an independent state there, nobody's puppeted, decides to expand through there after having the humiliating defeat. This area falling towards to them, and they decide to invade here. But they stop pretty quickly and offer a peace treaty, which is accepted for some reason. And, well, seeing this as a violation, the nation, this blue nation, decides to act on it as they launch an offensive into the region. And they also launch some other offensives, which is interesting, considering they're claiming it's to liberate this area. As they manage to move in fast. But they may be thinking they're winning. So this is when they decide to actually act on this offensive. But they fail. And then the speed that the advances happen speed up. And they make a swift advance through this region, so swift it disorganizes. They may be wondering why they're not doing this anywhere else. Well, this area is pushed back, but they don't continue the advance. With them moving into some of their more core territory and managing to take a big chunk out of it. Eventually, a peace treaty is agreed upon. And it goes to that line. Well, they decide to annex a state. And they say they won't go any further. Sweden agrees to it. Not Sweden, this nation. Yellow Nation says. And well, with their population exploding, so they decide to split the colony, this and that. Then they made this one. And they split this into two. They split this one in two. And this one in two. And they split this into another colony. And they split this. And they split it like this. Well, splits colonies. Smaller. The purple nation. As a few of the coastal areas have developed really fast. With this not being allowed to be changed because of the treaty they signed, doesn't mean they won't do it in the future. And as we can see, the Orange Nation is working on solidifying its control over all this land before focusing on expansionism. And here you can see, well, the Orange Nation took over the full thing, basically. And so, well, this nation decides to start an offensive on them. Which it goes really well as they start to capture land. They have the help of that nation sending some aid, and these nations support them. With this nation putting support towards them, well, they quickly advance in, with the offensive ending up with a stalemate. No nation really thinks of attacking their colonies because they don't have enough forces over in that area. With them advancing deeper at this rate, with a counteroffensive being launched by them over here, which leads to the front being forced to retreat all the way to here, and then to here, where it stays for a while. And so they decide to meet for a peace treaty. Why? Because, well, that's their best deal. So let's see the peace treaty. For today's video, after we can see the treaty gave them both a bit of land, but not as much as either side would have hoped for. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And Wild Mapper out. Panandali subscribe. Bye, guys.